My name is Antonina. I got my bachelor's in psychology with a minor in philosophy, and right now I'm finishing up my master's in liberal studies. I mainly focus on the intersection between philosophy of mind and cognitive neuroscience. And today I have 3 motivations for the lecture. The first being, I want to give you a brief tour of philosophy of mind, some thought experiments. The second motivation is to present a concrete example of why philosophy is relevant today. And a third one, I decided to throw in some logical fallacies into the mix just to practice, right? They always come in handy when we're arguing with others. Alrighty, so also we're gonna expect some engagement. Alright, so be prepared to answer questions. Alright, now first question being, do you guys think philosophy is relevant to your lives today? By a show of hands, who thinks it is?
I see 30 hands going up.
Alright, not bad. I think that's better than the general population, so I'm encouraged. Alright, and I would like a couple of you to share why philosophy is relevant today. Just a quick, brief example. I need at least 2 volunteers. Why is philosophy relevant today? Or to you, specifically?
Share different point of views.
Okay, good. Different point of views, understanding each other's arguments, right?
Yeah.
Okay. What else?
I want to learn more truths and more meanings.
Okay, yeah, gain a better understanding of the world you're in, right? You're only here for a brief time. Gotta make the most of it, right? So, you guys, are you familiar with these faces? Some of them? Okay. Like Neil deGrasse Tyson, as Eli mentioned earlier. All right, so these guys are a little skeptical of philosophy. And I'd like to congratulate the ones who raised your hands because you are off to a better start in philosophy than they are. They completely think philosophy is kind of a dead subject, right? Let's see what they have to say. Now, Stephen Hawking is a famous astrophysicist, Lawrence Krauss, a famous scientist, Neil deGrasse Tyson, as you know, on Cosmos, and Bill Nye the Science Guy. Who doesn't know him? Okay, so this is what Stephen Hawking says. Almost all of us must sometimes wonder, why are we here? Where do we come from? Right? As you mentioned. Traditionally, these are questions for philosophy, but philosophy is dead. Philosophers have not kept up with modern developments in science, particularly physics. Okay, does anyone know what the logical fallacy here is? It's a red herring. Red herring is when somebody puts up an irrelevant fact to make a point, right? And the fact that philosophers don't keep up with modern developments in science is kind of irrelevant, right? That's not the philosopher's job. That's the scientist's job, right? Okay, so he's attacking them for not paying attention to quantum physics. Now, Lawrence Krauss says philosophers have every right to feel threatened because science progresses and philosophy doesn't. Philosophy used to be a field that had content, but then natural philosophy became physics, and physics has only continued to make inroads. So he's pretty much making the same exact argument as Stephen Hawking, right? Once again, criticizing philosophers for their lack of knowledge in science. Although there are philosophers of science who do, in fact, keep up to date. So 0 points for originality, Lawrence Krauss. Stephen Hawking said it first. Now, Neil deGrasse Tyson goes, the philosophers believe they're actually asking deep questions about nature. And to the scientists, it's, what are you doing? Why are you concerning yourself with the meaning of meaning? Are we really concerning ourselves with the meaning of meaning? Does anyone know what logical fallacy that is? It's called a straw man fallacy. You're setting up a straw man and attacking it, right? We're not actually concerning ourselves with the meaning of meaning, right? And Neil, Bill Nye kind of says the same thing, but he adds a little bit of ridicule to it. He says, these are the typical questions that philosophers ask. Is reality real or is reality not real? And we are all living on a ping pong ball as part of a giant interplanetary ping pong game, and we cannot sense it. Are we really learning that? Have you guys learned that this semester? No? Okay. Yeah, so he's appealing to ridicule, and once again setting up a straw man. And if you guys are interested in logical fallacies and kind of not allowing these types of arguments to get at you, there's a really cool website called Logically Fallacious. And it's got hundreds of logical fallacies you can sort through. So next time you get into an argument on Facebook, you can be like, you're committing the straw man fallacy, your point's invalid. All right. So, why am I bringing all this up? Well, first of all, we need to know how to defend our knowledge, right? Sometimes we intuitively know philosophy is relevant, but we don't know how to defend it, right? So let's take one example in modern life where it could possibly be relevant, right? So we can use this one example to kind of see how philosophy helps. All right. How many of you are familiar with the term transhumanism? By a show of hands. Anyone heard of transhumanism? Cool, you should Google it. It's pretty wacky. But can anyone guess what it means? Let's think about the word transhumanism. So trans means across,
Change.
yeah, change, beyond, transatlantic, across the Atlantic. Okay, so it's beyond human. Okay, so we're trying to go beyond what we are, right? And ism, it's an ideology. Okay, so transhumanists, this is a legitimate subject, I guess, where people are trying to investigate how they can get beyond the human condition. The things that ail us, our bodies. We grow old. Backs start to go, and mind starts to slip up. So they want something more reliable, right? And they're looking into nanotechnology, into different ways to preserve the body, to ultimately achieve immortality. And this is not just like some wackos, right? These are big people. Ray Kurzweil is kind of leading the movement, and he's a engineer at Google, like a director of engineering at Google. So it's not like a nobody, right? Okay, and Ray Kurzweil actually predicts certain things to occur. He says by the 2020s, we should have the nanotechnology capable of preventing us from getting any kinds of diseases. That's something to look forward to. That's like in 3 years, right? Okay. By the 2030s, we'll be able to achieve mind uploading. Can somebody guess what mind uploading is?
Uploading your mind to like a computer.
Yeah. Cool. Do you want to do that? No? No? No takers here? Okay. By the 2040s, people will most everyone will be uploading their minds and living in virtual reality, because it'll give you like limitless abilities. You can go skydiving, you can fly to different planets, whatever you can imagine and desire. Okay, and then by 2045, we're going to experience something known as the singularity. And this is, he's not just conjecturing this out of nowhere. He's like calculating this based on the progress of technology, how fast we're able to pack, like, maybe Eli can explain this better, pack like computer like storage into smaller spaces and faster processing and stuff like that. Okay. Anyone else besides the skeptical here? Yeah, why are are we skeptical? Maybe we're already making some philosophical assumptions, right, about where this is going, right? And this ideology is also making certain assumptions, right? You mentioned mind uploading would be uploading your mind to a computer. What would that entail?
Wouldn't the mind kind of not be you in a sense?
Well, it's something, it's separate from the body now, right? Because it's something that you're able to upload. So, does that remind you of anything? Have you guys learned about dualism? Where mind and body are separate, right? Yeah, so they seem to be like operating maybe on a dualistic premise here, where don't worry about your body. You can just upload your mind and get immortality. Okay. Let's see where they're going. Okay, so you know, as skeptical as we are, there are people who are legitimately interested in this and are kind of betting on this technology. There, in the past 50 years, 60 years, there has been 350 people who have already been cryonically preserved to, in hopes that one day they'll be thawed out and maybe uploaded. Okay, what's cryonic preservation? Does anyone know what that is? It's freezing the body, okay? And it's a very expensive procedure. So recently, a couple of years ago, this young student, she was studying neuroscience actually, and she developed a terminal brain cancer. And she had to make some end-of-life decisions. And after researching cryonics and mind uploading, she thought, you know what? Even if there is like 1 or 2% chance that this is gonna work, I'm going for it. Because, you know what? Like, I raised the money now for this, and the payout is what? It's more immortality, right? So she was able to raise $70,000 through crowdsourcing to get her brain cryonically preserved. So she's her brain right now is in Arizona, frozen, awaiting thawing, and maybe mind uploading if we're able to do that, right? Okay, so why am I bringing this up? Well, this falls into the domain of philosophy of mind, okay? And as the name suggests, philosophy of mind deals with philosophical issues pertaining to the mind. Another note. So it was $70,000 just to preserve her brain. A full body preservation would be $200,000. So this industry is making tons of money, right? It's something that you need to think about, right? Could that money be better spent? You know, who knows? Okay, so let's see. All of this mind uploading is expected to follow certain steps, right? It's not just we're gonna thaw a brain and what? How would one upload the brain onto a computer? So the idea is this: you slice it up into really thin slices, and you scan it with high resolution. And then using computer software, it connects those scans together to run the brain, right? Run the data that it collects, that the scan collects. With the expectation that once the software is running, you'll wake up. Because all you need is the data. Okay. So, philosophy of mind. It's been around pretty much since the beginnings of philosophy. And there have been different analogies to how the mind functions. Back in ancient Greece, they would compare it to water fountains, right? Water clocks, these sorts of things. Later on with Galen's humors, there was the temperaments. With Descartes, there was more of a focus on mechanisms, like clockwork mechanisms. With electricity, they started implementing those ideas about the mind. Does anyone remember Descartes said the mind interacted with the body?
We haven't gotten Descartes yet.
Oh, okay, sorry guys. Okay. Spoiler, pituitary gland. Alrighty. Later on, steam engines. And now we're using our best technology, right? Computers. And so maybe the mind is like a computer. Or the brain is like a computer, and the mind is what the brain computes. So it seems like whatever is the latest technology, we compare the brain to it. And now we're placing really high stakes on this analogy of the brain being like a computer. All right. Did you guys go over the ship of Theseus? Okay. So what is the ship of Theseus? Yes? I see you hesitating. Yeah? You can use this picture for reference.
I think it was about when you said it's the ship that he used to sew on, but now it's in display. And since the park is old, yes, they have to release the park every year. But eventually the ship is still Theseus, but it's not Theseus.
Right, okay, so it's a question about identity continuity. What does it take for something to maintain its identity? So with this example of the ship of Theseus, the ship sails off on a long journey, and let's say every year only one plank gets replaced. So year one plank has been replaced, one wooden plank has been replaced. Is it still the same ship? Yeah, it seems like it, right? Why wouldn't it be? Okay. The next year, one more plank is replaced. And so on every year until, let's say, year 1,000 or however many planks there are, all the planks have been replaced. Is it still the same ship? Is it still the ship of Theseus?
I would say yes.
Yeah?
The idea is there, but not the ship.
The idea is there. So the ship is called Theseus's ship, but it's not really Theseus. Okay. Good. Now, one more caveat. This whole time that they've been replacing the planks, they haven't been throwing out the old ones. They've actually been storing them, and at the end, they rebuild the ship again. So is that the original ship now? Is that the real ship of Theseus? Or are we gonna call the one who has the name the ship of Theseus? Or are they both the ship of Theseus? Because if they're both the ship of Theseus, we're saying that ship of Theseus equals A and ship of Theseus equals B, but A can't equal B, right?
When things are displayed in the museum,
Uh-huh.
that's the original piece.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's worth the money. The
Okay.
original piece that, people stepped on it.
Mm-hmm.
So when you
But people
have
are stepping on the other one too, right?
well, but that's
And
not
it
from
maintains
the
the
era.
brand.
That's not the actual people that stepped on it. So it's really not.
I don't know. I don't know if I'm convinced because the crew kind of stayed with this one, right? And they kept stepping on this one. No one was stepping on these planks. So, which one's the ship of Theseus, right? And how does this relate to what we're talking about with mind uploading, right? Well, okay. Let's say we're able to mind upload right now, right? By scanning your brain without you having to pass away, right? So we're able to upload your mind, and now your mind is running on a computer. So who's you? Is that you in the computer? Or are you still you? Because if we're gonna talk about the example you just gave, does the computer retain the identity, or is
Partially.
it? Yeah?
Partially.
Okay, so now there's two instances of you? Yes.
I say it's obviously it's similar to that.
Mhm.
Ship A is just a perfect representation, but it's in reality not identically. It's not the original. Just a perfect representation.
Perfect representation. What do you mean by perfect representation?
So if you were, say somehow I could like morph into a computer,
Uh-huh.
if that would be the same thing as mine uploaded,
Mm-hmm.
it would be me.
Uh-huh.
It would be the same exact thing,
Mm-hmm.
but I cannot like morph into a computer. So this would just be a perfect representation. My brain, all my thought processes would be the exact same as the computer, as what's been uploaded.
Okay. So it's a representation, but it's not the real thing.
Yeah.
It's
Now,
not the original.
okay.
You
Now,
cannot be you without your whole body.
It's
Without
like
your
a
whole.
perfect replica, but not the original.
It's
would the
like-
replica be conscious?
That's what we don't know.
We don't know, right?
We don't know
Okay.
yet.
Let's investigate further. Okay. Do you guys think this is interesting? Alright. So. Alright, now we have another thought experiment with personal identity. Has anyone heard of Derek Parfit? It's a really famous philosopher that recently passed away, actually, in early January. And he dealt with the problem of personal identity a lot. He has a really cool book. If you're interested in this topic, you should definitely look into his writings. Now, he came up with a thought experiment where, let's say, in the future, it's possible to travel to another planet by entering a transporter that makes an exact replica of you on the other planet. So that's like saves you time, right? So, but in the process of making the replica of you, your original body is destroyed, right? And let's say it's done in a way that, like, you go to sleep and then you wake up on a new planet, right? There's a continuation of all your memories, you know, all your feelings, everything. So you go to sleep in this teletransporter. You wake up on a new planet. That was fast. Are you still you? Who says yes? Why not? Why is it not you? Who says no? Okay. So the rest of you don't know. Okay. That's cool. It's cool to be unsure. Alrighty. Now, for the person that said yes, what if there's a malfunction and you wake up on the planet, but you also wake up in your original body because the original body wasn't destroyed? So which one is the real you now?
The original?
The original? But who's on the other planet now?
Copy.
A copy? Does the copy have the same rights as you now?
Can they
The-
both create?
They feel like they're still you, right? Can you imagine waking up on another planet and somebody telling you, nah, you're an imposter. The real you is actually back on Earth. That's unpleasant, right? Okay. Well, you know what? What if there's a glitch that destroys the original body, but 1,000 years pass and you wake up on the other planet? Is that you? I mean, the original body was destroyed. So you wake up and you're like, oh God, everyone I know has died, but I guess, gotta pick up where I left off and keep going, right? Is that you? Or did you actually pass away 1,000 years ago?
died.
You died?
Yeah.
What makes you say that?
Because I think about it, I'm like, if I had a dog, my dog died,
Uh-huh.
I took his DNA and made another dog,
Uh-huh.
and I called it the same name. It's not the same dog.
Okay. But this is a little different though, because you're not recreating from the DNA. Like, this is the memories, right? So that new dog would still have all the same memories and feelings about you, and be really confused why you're not why you don't like it anymore.
Yeah. I mean, I was thinking about it, like, what if a person's brain dead?
Mhm.
Is it still them? Or because they're brain dead, like, they can't really,
So what defines a person? Okay.
it's interesting.
All right. So things for you to kind of keep in mind for your Descartes topic. Okay. Now, so a lot of our intuitions come from what we hold the mind to actually be. Is the mind identical with the brain? Is the mind something that the brain does? Is the mind part of a soul? Right? Is it separate from the brain? Okay. Who says that mind and brain are identical? Anyone? Yep. Okay. Okay. Hold that thought. Now, who says the mind does what the brain does? One? Two? Okay. Anyone say that the mind is separate from the brain? It's more like part of a soul? Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay. So maybe the soul can travel. Can it travel? Like, if we're using Parfit's teletransporter, right? The original dies, maybe the soul kind of pops in on another planet, and you continue being you.
What about the fact that when you go to sleep,
Uh-huh.
and even when you have a dream, where are you? Where are you?
Mm-hmm.
You know, sometimes you can have a dream that you're in Hawaii or on vacation or whatever, but where are you?
Right.
You know, are you laying in the bed or are you? What?
So that depends on what you think the mind is, right?
Right.
If you think the mind is identical with the brain, you're in your bed, right?
Right.
And your brain is just, giving you hallucinations.
Exactly.
Yeah. Now, if you think the mind is what the brain does, I guess you're still in the bed, right? Yeah? Yeah. But if your mind is the soul, oh man, that's fun. You get to do Hawaii. Man, I'm starting to lean towards this other perspective. Okay. So, so transhumanists define the brain emulation. Brain emulation is what will be uploaded to the computer as a one-to-one model, right, of all the relevant properties that will, give you the same conscious experience. They're not really concerned about identity or who wakes up where and how many of you there are. If that you can make replicas of yourself according to their theory, and they will all be you. Okay, I mean that could cause issues for like legal purposes, but as far as they're concerned, like there's no problem here. There's no contradiction. And John Searle kind of attacked this thinking where you could just say that a computer can be conscious. Because, okay, so the transhumanists think the human body can be conscious and a computer can be conscious, right? John Searle says, no, there's something else going on here. Just because a computer acts like it's conscious doesn't really mean it's conscious, right? And he gave this example. Let's say I'm sitting in a room, and through one slot or through a television input, I'm shown certain characters, right? Chinese characters. I don't know what they mean. I don't know Chinese. But I have this rule book that tells me when you see these Chinese letters, this is the letters that you need to type out. You print them out and you put it in the output. He's not aware that what's going on is actually there's Chinese speakers that are asking him questions or asking computer questions to see if it's conscious, right? To see if it's aware. And then the computer is responding to them with these really good answers like, man, this thing has to be conscious. It's responding just like a real person would, right? So but is this system conscious? Is there any awareness of what the questions are and what the answers are? No, right? It's just him following rules. So Searle says that a computer program is just calculating responses. It's getting an input, kind of like you would put into an equation, and you get an output, right? There's no consciousness happening there. Do you guys believe this argument? Like, do you agree with that? Do you have any objections? Could it still be conscious? No? Okay. Yeah, another thought, there's actually two more thought experiments presented by a philosopher named Ned Block. And they're both about functionalism, right? About this idea of consciousness arising from something that is not the human brain. And in one thought experiment, he says, imagine everyone in China took on the role of a neuron. And they communicated with walkie-talkies in the way that synapses communicate in the brain, right? And they were able to solve certain problems by communicating with each other, right? Like a brain would. So they are able to compute or answer, right? Is there consciousness arising out of this entire nation? Is this brain conscious? Does it have a soul? What? Sorry? Did someone answer? No? Not conscious? How many say it's conscious? Anyone say it's not conscious? Okay. And okay, so it doesn't seem like it would be conscious, right? Just people talking on walkie-talkies, kind of following these processes of a brain. Where would the consciousness arise, right? Who's conscious here? Okay, let's take a different approach. He presents this particle people approach. Somewhere in the deepest corners of the universe, matter takes on a different form, right? Everything is actually composed of different elements and different, the elementary particles are different, right? It's totally different. And there's these tiny particle people. They're really curious about our part of the universe. And they're like, I want to emulate the elements from the human world, right? And they're small enough to be able to kind of functionally compose these elements. Everything on the periodic table, they're able to compose by driving little spaceships, okay? And they're able to orchestrate like an entire section of the universe to make it look like it's our elements, right? And eventually we explore that deep part of the universe and we see a planet. We don't know that it's composed like of tiny particle people. Everything looks normal. The elements are acting just as we expect them to act. We settle, colonize, as we live there, and we breathe in the air. Our original elements get replaced with particle people elements, but our bodies don't recognize it because they have the same function, right? The oxygen composed of particle people has the same functions as the oxygen we breathe, so we don't notice anything, right? Eventually, we're completely composed out of particle people. Do we lose our consciousness? Who says yes? Yeah? At what point do we start to lose our consciousness? At the final element, at the final atom? Well, we're constantly losing atoms. They're like popping off and on all the time.
We build immunity, but we're still missing.
Mm-hmm. So we maintain our cognitive functions?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like how, like now, who is to say we don't have little particle peoples inside of us? Like, we don't know that. We're still
Right.
the same.
With our technology, all we see are
immunity.
oxygen atoms, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is a little more easy to accept, right? And they're both accounts of functionalism, right? But this account of functionalism takes it further inward, right? At the lower levels. Whereas this account of functionalism is too high up. It feels like it just doesn't work. So Ned Block proposed these two thought experiments to say the issue with functionalism is they can both end up having the same function, but one could work potentially and one not so much. And so levels of organization are important. And going back to the mind uploading part, right? How is that relevant to mind uploading? Well, the mind upload is planning to scan everything from neurons and up, right? And so if our consciousness arises somewhere from the neuronal level and up, then we're okay. But if our consciousness depends on something beneath that neuronal level, we might end up losing it, right? Because we're not scanning anything beneath that. So, but we don't know where it is that consciousness arises from. Okay. Now, just to kind of wrap things up, back to the fallacies. Philosopher Hubert Dreyfus has criticized this entire movement of transhumanism, their like optimism about mind uploading and all these predictions for 2020s and 2030s. He's saying, you're kind of basing this all off of the first step fallacy. You were able to achieve the first step to your roadmap, but just because you achieved the first step doesn't mean that the last step is inevitable, right? So he gives you this example to think about. Let's say you have a group of individuals who are climbing a hill to reach the moon, right? And they set off on the hill, and they're like, well, you know what, guys, like, we've been making progress. We're gonna get there. We're gonna get to the moon because this is how far we've gotten. So, you know, keep going on, right? That's a fallacy, right? Just because you were able to achieve the first step doesn't mean that the mind upload will happen. Now, according to transhumanists, you scan the brain, you create, you know, a connectome, which basically means like a blueprint of your brain and how it functions. You know, you run it as a software, eventually upload it into a robot body, but will that be conscious, right? Did we miss something along the way? Right. Now, I'm probably out of time. Oops, go ahead. I'm not out?
No, keep going.
Oh, okay. Excellent. All right. So, there are other issues that come up with mind uploading that I don't have time to go into today. But do you guys have any feedback? What kind of questions popped up? Yes.
We're missing the organs, we're missing the blood, we're missing everything of the human body.
Okay,
So
and
we just
why?
have the brain.
Why is that important?
It is important. You are not whole unless you have all your organs. I mean, unless you get like maybe an implant of another organ, but I mean, you still need that to function. You're a robot. Like all you have is your brain.
But transhumanists would argue you can just program those inputs. The input from the heart, you can program that. So trick the brain into thinking it's getting inputs. Trick the brain into thinking, you know, you're actually hearing something or
You
seeing
don't have a
something.
blood flow. You don't have.
Well, why do you need blood flow if all you need is your mind, right?
You still need it.
Okay, so that actually touches upon embodiment. A lot of people would argue, a lot of scientists would argue now especially, that the mind isn't solely dependent on the brain. It's kind of intertwined with the entire body, with our hormones, like you said.
Yeah.
You know, they change our feelings, everything, you know. And not just the body, but the body and the environment too. So we're essentially changing, like, we're depriving the mind of what it needs when we're just scanning the brain, right? Because the mind depends on this environment where the body is located. Because let's just think about walking, right? There's so many processes that occur while you're just walking. There's proprioception. You have to be aware of your body movements, right? And that awareness, it feels like it's in your mind, right? But the whole body's involved. And gravity is involved in it too, right? How do you separate that from your body? So all of this is really intertwined, and they're just focusing on one aspect of our existence. And who knows, they might be right? But we have to investigate it further. You know, we have to take a look at the functionalist objections, you know, objections from personal identity. What about the ethical implications? I mean, if you're able to make copies of yourself, like, who gets their share of your wealth, right? Everyone wants to, you know, kind of lay claim to it.
Especially in a democracy, when the computer makes 7 billion of itself, then now whatever it says goes, right?
Right, and then think about the electricity required for that to keep that going. Who's there protecting these computers, right? Are these uploads dependent on someone, kind of guarding?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, what's going on? So there's a lot of questions that are open, right? Is anyone familiar with Black Mirror? Is that what it's called? Black Mirror on Netflix? Okay, guys, if you have Netflix, you gotta watch Black Mirror because it goes over these kinds of philosophical questions and especially ethical implications of, let's say you are able to upload your mind, who's running the show when your mind is uploaded? All right, anything else? Any other questions, comments? Do you guys think this is, oh yeah.
I don't know, mine's not a question, but everything you say, I don't like kind of halfway understand.
Mhm.
But it's like it's hard like to sit in or to even really understand because of what I've done before.
Mhm.
Like, because like as a Christian, you already know like one thing is one thing, and then now all these things like I don't know, it's kind of confused.
Yeah, I definitely covered a tremendous amount of territory, right? Each one of these slides can be expanded into a book, and I tried to kind of zoom through it, but for sure, right? There's different assumptions that we're making. There's different, I guess, systems of thoughts to approach the mind with. So this could all sound like gibberish if you're operating in a totally different, system of thought. But even though you're operating in that system of thought, there are so many individuals that are part of this, right? And you got to be aware of that, right? Because what if suddenly insurance starts requiring you to have a backup copy of your brain? What? Like, well, right? So you have to be knowledgeable in what's going on. These like Alcor is the organization that uploaded that girl's, not uploaded, but froze that girl's brain. Who knows? Maybe they're lobbying for certain things. All right. Go ahead.
It sounds crazy, right? But are there going to be any requirements? Because I mean, you have people from all walks of life. We have criminals. We have, rapists. We have
That's a
all
good
these.
question.
So I'm saying, like, if they were to download this mind, then are there going to be stipulations of who can be
Yeah.
or what mind?
And what are they
can
allowed to
be?
do? Who are they allowed to interact
Exactly.
with?
And then the social security number, like, who does it belong to?
Does each copy get its own social security
Yeah,
number?
the same social. Because if you go you're gonna run my credit if you go.
And what about your identity is kind of going rogue and trying to incriminate you? They know what you did in the past. Who gets reprimanded? Do all your future selves get it?
Right? Everybody.
What is jail, right?
I think as a robot or as the other person, you're not independent.
You're not independent?
Yeah, you're not independent. As a
Uh-huh.
human being, we're all independent. We wake up, we don't have nobody guiding us. We wake up, we eat, we go about our lives. We don't have to depend on anyone to say, take me here, take me there.
To an
As a
extent,
robot, you would need a guardian. You would need a guardian to do these things or to, I guess, charge you if you need your battery. All these different things that a human body works on its own that a robot will not be able to.
Right.
If that person dies and there's nobody else to guide it, that robot would eventually die with a battery or.
Have you guys seen the movie Transcendental with Johnny Depp? Anyone? Okay, so in the movie, it's based on this mind uploading premise. And once Johnny Depp, this great scientist, gets his mind uploaded, he figures out a way to get inside electricity, pretty much. Wherever you have connection to the web, he's there. So, and it sounds really similar to what Kurzweil is proposing too. Like this singularity that they're expecting, where technology exceeds the progress of human minds, and artificial intelligence can pretty much pick up where humans left off and kind of expand exponentially. They're expecting this permeation of intelligence throughout the entire universe, because they're operating under the assumption, and this is coming from a lot of scientists, that everything is data, everything is information, and what we see are just different formations, organizations of information. And so, like, well, if everything is information, then I'm just gonna use scan the information in my brain and transform that information into information in the computer, and it should work, right? And so the singularity is based on this idea that eventually everything will just be information and we'll be free. And what does that mean, though, right? What will it mean to be human? That's a huge question, because we're so intertwined with our bodies. What is it like to no longer? Are you still human? Are you still you? Right? So this question of mind uploading touches upon more than just, is this feasible? It touches upon, what is it to be human, right? Yeah, go ahead.
So would it be the same as throwing away your humanity?
That's a good question. Would it be?
Because at that point, if you're a robot, you're no longer human. Just your mind is there.
Right, but maybe transhumanists don't want to be human anymore, because what, humans get old, wrinkly, you know? They die. So. Alrighty. Well, thank you guys, and definitely Google this stuff. It's super fascinating. Sorry for taking up way more than my time slot.
Okay, guys, this is what we'll do. If you are in my Monday class, you got your 3 lectures, you're free to go. If you are in my Wednesday class, well, you know you guys can always walk out the door, whatever, right? I'm not keeping it here, but I have to cover Gorgias. I have to. I'm not going to cover aerosol like I do with my Monday class. But